I'm going to share my screen. You would just be patient with me. Of course, that's the last slide. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, welcome back. This is what, our third session, Sherry?
Mm-hmm.
This is our third Kickstarter session, and we want to welcome you. It's about 30 minutes. We're going to do something new and different with Zoom with you here today. And again, this is all about learning about these two practices in conversations worth having. But let me just talk to you about this. You see this beautiful image on your screen of the fish. And, you know, think about what happens to the fish when the water becomes toxic, when the water is unhealthy. The fish begin to be sick and the fish begin to die. And being in water for fish is, they sometimes aren't even aware of their surroundings until you take them out of the water, and then they realize they were in the water. And think about your conversations. Now that some of you have been joining us for the third time, that your conversations are like breathing, and your conversations are how you interact with yourself and with others. And probably 95% of your waking moment, you're in conversations with yourself and others. And what we want to do is to actually go through the two practices today, which are generative questions and positive framing. And if you think about generative questions are questions that can change your thinking, create new images, new possible ways from people to move from being stuck to unstuck, from fear to having courage. Generative questions can deepen understanding. And then the second practice, which is positive framing, allows you that when you're in conversations with people is to ask them, what is it they want to happen? What is it that they want more of? Instead of everything that's going wrong, what is something that is going on right? So with these two practices, we've designed these 30-minute sessions to really contribute to a challenge or a troubling situation that you are having with yourself, with others, or trying to help somebody else through, or in your work environments. So what we're going to try to do next is we're going to use a feature in Zoom called Chat Box. And what we're going to do in the chat box is where we're going to list some of the problems or the issues that you're dealing with today.
Why don't we do that? Let's pause just for a minute and do that. If you'll go back one slide. Yeah, and just let's do this first.
So in your chat box, if you can type any challenges or situations that you're experiencing in these times with your teams, with your family, with yourself, at work.
Any negative conversations that keep getting recycled around anything. Or even a complex challenge you're facing and you don't really know how to have a generative conversation about it.
So we've got one problem up there with Tracy, understanding what self-care is, virtual teaching. Wow, they're coming out, Sherry.
Yep.
Second. Great. All right. I'm going to be watching the chat box and putting them into the whiteboard. Sherry, do you think we can move forward to the whiteboard and we'll talk them through how to use the whiteboard?
Yes, I'll need to share, however.
Okay.
Well, first walk them through with the slide and then we can swap places.
Okay. My slide is stuck. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to go up to your toolbar on the whiteboard and you can click on View Options. I'm going to talk it through and then we'll do it. And then on your drop-down menu, it's the third one down, you'll click on Annotate. And then if you click on the format, you can choose your color. You can choose your color, and we want you to set your text to 12 point. And then if you look along your toolbox, you can type text in. So you can type a generative question once we tell you what problem we'll deal with first. And then you have to make sure after you hit enter, you leave your little text box and your questions will be out there. We're going to try to take an issue, use the whiteboard, save it so that you'll have it to look at later, and then we'll do another whiteboard. So we're upping our game this week. All right, Sherry, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. And I will share mine. And if you weren't by any chance able to do the menu option, you should be able to see that now.
Yeah, go to up to the top.
And let's do this particular one as the question that we're going to, the challenge that we're going to work with. So I'll make this a little bigger. Virtual teaching is not working. The equity gap is growing. So what generative questions? This is where if you'll make sure you use the format box to ask your questions in a 12-point font size, so lots of people can get questions up. What kind of generative questions, and how might we frame this conversation as well? So here is one. What does equity look like when learning is virtual? Great question. What's another generative question? What options have we considered? How do we measure equity? What is working? That's always a great question. Who's finding ways to make this work? How might be? What has been working? What are some other questions that you might ask?
How might we best teach and learn beyond virtualness or virtualness? And Phyllis says, I'm not sure how to get on the whiteboard, so sorry. Also feel free to turn off your microphone and shout out a question.
To get onto the whiteboard, if you go up to View Options in the drop-down menu and click on Annotate.
Yeah, and somebody can't whiteboard on their phone.
Oh, good point. Then type in the chat box and we'll bring your questions over.
And Tracy has, what would success look like? Brian says, what are students already doing for learning? What are students already doing?
So I don't know who asked this question. We should be able to look and see. This was from Suzette Brown. Are these helpful? And you can unmute.
She said yes in the chat box.
Wonderful. So let's bring another one over. Jackie, do you have one already?
Yeah, I have
one. I'm going to save this and clear it.
I'm going to save and clear it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to bring in a text. Of course, mine's not working, but let's see if this will come in. All right. Here's another issue. Can you see that? Our office is struggling to plan a return to the office coming out of the COVID pause. Folks are fearful. It's a really good one.
Jackie, while others are making that, asking questions, can you move it to the very top and make it maybe a little bolder?
Oh, now she's asking me to
Or
get.
not bolder, but bigger. Maybe use a larger font just so it stands out from the rest.
All right. Hold on.
How will you return to the office? How will returning to the office benefit employees? Our offices.
There we go. How's that, Sherry?
And if you can move it, because we've got there's some question right underneath there. What makes you feel safe at work?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't move it. Phyllis typed, tell me about a time you were fearful, but you did it anyways.
What might we be and do if everyone was safe at work? These are great questions. If you're typing over the top of somebody else, if you can move it around and find a space, that would be helpful so we can see everybody's questions.
I don't know how to move it. Maybe somebody else
You
does.
can only move your own.
Oh.
You can re-click on your own and move. Maybe you can't re-click on your own.
I don't think you can after you've.
Sorry, I'm trying to click on mine and I wasn't able to
No, you can't.
bring my font to smaller letters, so I kind of messed a little bit.
No, that's okay. We're experimenting with the whiteboard this morning. Somebody typed, oh, that was me. How might we come together to discuss our concerns and what's possible? How have you used your strengths in the past to overcome fears? And this is a real conversation that I know organizations are having right now is people are afraid to come back to work.
There's an interesting one. Who is part of the planning process? And maybe for people who are highly afraid, it's inviting them into that process so they can actually come up with solutions that they will feel they'll feel comfortable with because they've been making them happen.
All right. Does that give a lot of questions so we can move on to another possible topic? Michael's shaking his head yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Save, clear.
Sherry's going to save it and clear it.
And here is another one.
Oh, yes. That's a great one, Sherry.
So a staff member that doesn't communicate clearly and accurately in emails.
Sherry, we got a nice message by Megan. This is fantastic, Jackie and Sherry. I love exploring this tool, so I'm glad.
Thank you for your patience with us.
First time I've done this.
And now we know also before you leave your email, just move it or your post, your text box, move it to where it's visible. So what kind of generative questions might someone ask? When are times the employee has communicated clearly and what conditions had to be in place? Great questions. What does the staff member do well? Do they communicate clearly in person? Yeah. How would people benefit if the communication would better?
Yeah, what does communicating clearly in an email look like?
Yeah.
Tracy typed, what protocols or tools have been shared for effective communication.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the over here in this because I think that's a valuable one also. Would instant messaging help? That's a great question. Might also ask, who does a really great job of communicating well, and what is it that they do? Hmm. Yeah, what other methods of communication? What does
Can you guys make your font smaller?
if
My
you
letters are
if you
huge.
go to format at the very top and you're in the annotate bar where it says format, there's a little square with a color in it.
Go all the way to the bottom, it'll say
If you
font.
click on that, it says font, bold, italic, or font size. Thank you for asking. I'm sure you're not alone.
Look how nice this, see, three's a charm. Look how nice our whiteboard is. Nice.
All right.
Sherry, you want to save this one? And I've
Save
got
this.
another topic to swap in the next one.
Great. All righty.
All right, let's see how quickly I can type this in. All right. Here's, whoops, how's this one?
Feeling a little hopeless about being in job search. Oh,
We've had this
yes.
about losing your job. Some people talked about losing your jobs, losing both personal and job opportunities because of COVID. And then there was this one. Tracy typed in, what are your strengths and who could benefit from those in exactly this moment? Great question, Tracy. I'm gonna put that up on the board. Oh, I get the big font, so that's not good. You guys don't want me doing that one. Could you take a career break and gain new skills?
Tracy asks, what are your strengths and who could benefit from them in those in exactly this moment? Diana says, what is one thing that is functioning well for you right now? What volunteer work appeals to you?
Well,
That's, yeah. What strengths do you have? Could this lead to a possible career change? Tracy asks, what are you doing to take care of yourself as you experience this challenge? That's a creative question. Could you ask everyone you know to offer you 3 hours of work per week? And what's new and different? Are these helpful for those, there are a couple of people that we're talking about this challenge of finding jobs? I've got a couple of friends who are in the same position.
all right. You ready to save that one, Sherry? And I can pop out another topic as soon as
I've got a topic
Okay, go ahead.
Ready to pop in here? All right, saved that. So just increase the font quickly. How do we deeply listen to people who think COVID is just the flu and we are saddling the next generation with huge debt and they think we should not have closed the economy? How do we engage in a conversation worth having with people in that position? And you may be one of those people, who knows?
This is a tough question or tough topic. Oh, great generative question. On what perspectives might you align or agree? And sometimes a generative question is going deeper to understand this person's way of thinking and their thoughts as well. Oh, great. Tracy just typed that. Tracy said, listen to learn and understand where they are coming from. What is the ultimate success they seek for themselves and for the next generation? That's a beautiful question, Tracy.
I'll capture that and bring it over.
Right. And Phyllis also mentioned that too. People just need a good listening to, and that you understand, and then you can flow into the generative question that Tracy asked that Sherry just posted as well.
Somebody found the little spotlights. Or the stamps, rather.
Yeah, we didn't tell them about that, but yeah.
That's great.
Yep, another person found a star. Okay.
These are all in the check mark where there's a stamp. So if you really like a question, you can.
Now you're in the advanced mode. How about we take one more topic after this? So let's just think a little bit deeper.
Okay, let's save these.
I'm going to grab on one more topic. I'm going to change my font to 24. There's all this anticipation. What is that final topic? Is she going to put in there? Okay, how's that?
We don't have enough personal protective equipment and we are at risk in healthcare.
What PPE is available? How do we support novel approaches to procurement and to risk reduction? What hospitals or cities do have sufficient PPE and might be able to share?
There's another good one from Tracy. What decision makers can you connect with to explain the situation and ask for help? I will pull that over.
Diana Mitchell added, how can we best explore our options for obtaining the equipment that we need?
And I love the tack that says, I don't have any PPE to give you, but how else might I support you? Who could I, who can I talk to, write letters to? That's a great question.
So what we're going to do in these last few minutes here, see how quick our 30 minutes goes? Carrie is going to explain how we're going to get these to you. And I'm going to bring up our last slide after she explains it, so we can tell you about an event that's happening this Thursday.
So having not done these before, I don't know what they look like when I save them, but each one of them has been saved. And we have your email, so I will send out an email to everyone. And I'll include the chat box as well as each of these whiteboards. That should give you a fair number of examples of both generative questions and also a way to kind of extrapolate. If your situation wasn't talked about this week, some of these questions may still be either relevant or you could slightly alter them.
So did you see that last slide I had up here? We always welcome you to go to our website and download the toolkit and the preface and the introduction. There's something very special happening this week by the Positive Change Lab. And they're doing an Appreciative Inquiry online summit this Thursday, May 14th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And their keynote speaker who's going to launch this event will be David Cooperrider. And he had just written an article about appreciative inquiry in broken times. And he will be launching these events. And we're actually going to go through a 4D cycle, and we will be going into breakout sessions or groups. And we'll be exploring a lot of the questions you've actually brought up today about how do we move forward from this environment. And so the special events there, I'm going to stop sharing so I can click it into the chat box for you as well, that link there. So let me put this in here. I will tell you that you do need to RSVP, and you can click on that link. They only have, I think, capacity for up to 500 people, and you're thinking, oh, that's not a lot. The last event they did a couple weeks ago at Jane Dutton was 450 people. If you are not there 5 or 6 minutes early in the waiting room, you may get left out. So this is an event you don't want to be late for. So you can click on that link that's in the chat room, and you might want to sign up and come there on Thursday night.
Any questions in the last couple of minutes? We've got 2 minutes remaining. We so enjoy having all of you be here and helping us all learn together how to apply these practices.
And so